Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we get to talk about Valve and Steam because they're giving Steam a bit of a clean, and this will hit all of us. We're seeing demos be a bit different, store pages are shifting, and user reviews are being reworked a bit. And there's actually more than just that. Valve are also cooking up something with SteamOS that I think could be kinda huge, but we'll talk about Steam first. Valve have basically spent a week rolling out updates in a piecemeal fashion. They've been updating the Steamworks blog, and that means we have got a lot to break down today across reviews, demos, and store pages. And if you'd like even more from our team, go and check out the latest edition of Loading Screen over in Bellular.games. In that, we dive into 2025 game delays, because it turns out, yes, everything's being delayed to 2025, and the unfortunate saga of a mod that Activision killed just 2 days before launch, which really is kind of painful. So over there, you get tons of exclusive content, our videos without ads, and we get to be secure and sustainable. So it's a big win for everyone, and a big thank you to our supporters. With that said, user reviews. Okay, how helpful is a review that is just ASCII art or a meme that's not really related to the game? Well, according to Valve, there's been over 140 million Steam user reviews to date, and not all of them are useful. So what they've done is they've updated the Steam user reviews so that the less useful types of reviews will be downplayed on the store page. Now, in a way, we all look at that and think, okay, right, I mean, shitpost memes, those are fine, but they're not really going to be helpful. That being said, you could also see a situation where certain types of reviews that are maybe a bit more rude or a bit more scathing, but still could be of value to a user, where those ones would end up being deprioritized. I'm sure you're all aware of what it's like when you go to like a product page and you maybe see it's got 3.5 stars, but you scroll down to the reviews and you sort of think, hang on. This is 3.5 stars. Where are all of the low reviews? Why is everything here glowing? So that's absolutely what people could be scared of here, and you could say that Valve would have an incentive to have games put their best foot forward to get more sales, though of course in the long run that would probably erode user confidence and be bad. So the way that they're planning to determine this is the "was this review helpful" button. So that's there, it's still going to be counted, but there's going to be more moderation past that. So here's what Valve says. The Steam moderation team looking closely at a lot of reviews and some machine learning algorithms to help scale the human judgment calls. So this is basically just Valve trying to tidy things up. You can still leave a negative shitpost review and that still will be counted towards the overall review score. Valve says as well they've got no interest in deleting the reviews of any player as long as those reviews are in the terms of service. Here's literally what they say. Their indication of whether they would recommend a game is still valuable data even if they're not able to articulate why. So that's definitely a good thing. I'm sure there's some game devs who see a negative review and a shitpost and think, oh man, really? But look, that negative sentiment is probably still real and probably still there. Now, in theory, Valve have had something like this before with the awards system, right? Because, you can put down rewards and you can put down the funny reward as an example. So you can see Valve using those as a data point, but honestly, I think that would be a pretty bad idea. At the end of the day, those awards are just a bit of community engagement, a bit of fun. I don't think there's something that really people would want to be used in that manner. And that's why it's good that Valve are actually doing some moderation here, like some actual moderation on top of that. So in theory, this should improve things further and help to avoid a situation where developers are getting treated unfairly based on memes. Hopefully. And to be clear, this is only the start. Valve said that they're actually working on more things while they refine this, and they basically say it should end up being a better customer experience. Will it be? Will it not be? I'm not 100% sure, but look, I'd rather have useful, positive or negative, I'd rather have useful reviews that people have rated as being helpful up there at the top, rather than just shit posts that get lots of engagement because people find it to be funny. As much as I'm all there for the fun, it's user reviews. Those are actually there to serve a bit of consumer need and to educate and inform. So that's that. The next thing then is demos, and it's real interesting what's happened here. So in the past, the demo would just exist within the Steam page of its host game, its parent game. But as of July, demos are actually a separate product on Steam. That means they've got their own page, and it also means they've got their own reviews. Now, that bit specifically is fascinating to me because you can put out a demo and you can get real user review feedback for that demo, not just stuff that's you skimming a forum, but actually people casting a vote. I think that's actually going to be of real high utility for developers, but it's also going to be quite good for discoverability. This means that a demo can go out there, have its own page, essentially go viral, and get loads of positive reviews. So that even is a really strong part of marketing for a game. Now, of course, Steam is a complex network of systems. One change can impact others, and when Steam changed demos in this way, they actually broke the new and trending page of Steam, because with demos being standalone products, what basically happened is loads of chart spots were taken up for nearly a month by demos. Now, obviously, a demo pushing a full release of a paid game out of one of the highest visibility areas of Steam is not really a good thing. And the good news here is that Valve have learned the lesson and they've added a new core feature called Trending Free. So now, paid games get their spotlight back, but free-to-play games like, say, Supermarket Together, benchmarking tools like the Black Myth Wukong one, and loads of demos, those are basically away from the paid area and they now exist in their own free and trending spot, which I think is just a big win for everybody. The next change then is to Steam store pages. So Valve wants a store page for a game to just be a store page for a game. They don't want it to be other things. And that means policy decisions are being made. From September, they will be banning off-Steam links. They'll be banning the advertising of other games and any imagery that replicates their store functions, like as an example, having a wishlist button like within a bit of your game's marketing or a screenshot or something like that. Now, this was prompted by store pages that look like this one. This was spotted by the creator of SteamDB. And what you can see is links to 4 other games and a community Discord. Now, this, of course, happens for fairly understandable reasons. If you're an indie dev, right, where are you going to get most of your traffic? The answer is not your own website. So what actually happens is a store page and community hub for a game ends up being, well, it ends up being your equivalent of a website. So if you're a developer, you'll perhaps want to move people over to your Discord where you can give a better experience, perhaps. If you're a publisher, well, maybe you'll want to also on a store page promote other games. Maybe there's cross-promotion there, and maybe as a publisher you think, okay, well, if we're cross-promoting all of our games on all of our Steam pages, then that will just be more visibility and more sales for everybody, which is great. But of course, from Valve's perspective, that's just not what they think a store page should be for. And when they're thinking about the customer experience on their platform, they just want it to be more clear and simple. So overall, there are some obvious downsides here. If you're a user and you find it useful, let's say a discount for another game that is related to the game that you're currently looking at, if you thought it was useful that that discount could be linked there, if you maybe thought it was useful that you could have easy access to the community Discord without having to maybe search for the developer on, like, you know, X or whatever platform, well, yeah, you will kind of lose out. And if you're an indie developer, well, this certainly means that you'll have a far harder time redirecting the massive amounts of traffic that you can get from Steam over to somewhere else. But I think what this fundamentally will do is it will mean the developers will have to think about sort of building their own castle, having a strong social media presence, actually doing things outside of Steam. I can certainly see that being more work, I can see that being annoying, but the flip side of that is for a user, it means that a Steam page is a Steam page is a Steam page. They'll all operate in the same way and you'll have a consistent experience. It could actually be that Valve just sees loads of like user confusion and stuff like that on Steam, and that this is just a way for them to make that go away. Now, Steam, of course, is, yes, the platform, yes, the storefront, but also SteamOS is a Linux distro, and this is where things get kind of fun. So, Valve are still open to SteamOS on other platforms, and this was captured by The Verge. Now, you may have seen a lot of people say, oh man, I cannot believe that The Verge had the gall to publish an article on Deadlock, the new game coming out from Valve, that honestly I think looks absolutely sick, and I can't wait to play. In fact, I don't even know who, but I got a Steam notification on my phone saying that I've been invited to the playtest, so who knows? Maybe I will have to play the game and then hit the escape key and not agree to the secrecy thing. That being said, I've got way too much value in my Steam account and I do not want to lose that shit. But anyway, a lot of people thought The Verge had been blacklisted, but that's definitely not the case, because days after that happened, The Verge reached out to Valve for comment and they got a response. Certainly doesn't seem like a blacklist. Anyway, what's happened is SteamOS update notes that included this: added support for extra ROG Ally keys. And this is of course kind of relevant because the ROG Ally X launched a few weeks back and it really is a fantastic piece of kit. I've got a ROG Ally, the base one, and to be honest, I think it's really fantastic. Even just playing Helldivers on it, and the fact that it's got a high refresh rate screen, as much as the deck OLED is really nice for, you know, obviously having an OLED, playing Dusk at like the maximum frame rate on that thing felt great. But anyway, the problem with the ROG Ally is it doesn't use SteamOS. It just is using Windows, which kind of blows. Now, what does help you a lot there is Steam Big Picture mode, which is actually fantastic, and it does lead to a really good user experience, but it's not quite as good as just how native and I suppose console-like things are on a deck using SteamOS. Now, responding to questions from The Verge, Valve designer Lawrence Yang confirmed that they are still iterating on the tech for the purposes of third-party devices, and that's the great news. Here's a quote. "The note about ROG Ally keys is related to third-party device support for SteamOS. The team is continuing to work on adding support for additional handhelds on SteamOS," which basically is confirming that that's going to be a thing. Now, does this mean that we can expect, rapidly being able to dual boot SteamOS onto one of these things? Well, no, not yet. Very explicitly not anytime soon. Yang described it as being something that, quote, "isn't ready to run out of the box yet." And he also did say that dual booting in Steam Deck is being worked on as well. So even though they just shipped things like APU, audio, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth drivers for Windows on Steam Deck OLED, they're very much adamant that it's not fully done yet, and official support is just not something, that they're doing. So I'm sure there are ways for, an enterprising user to do fun things there, but it's not a fully Valve-backed experience, because even right now, say, the audio drivers are not working on the native speakers of the device. They'll only work for Bluetooth and headphones, so there are still loads of little kinks that have got to be ironed out there. But the good news is that's exactly what Valve are doing. So we're not quite there yet, but we certainly are getting there, and the one thing that I'll really say just excites me so much in this is Qualcomm have entered the race. I believe AMD have as well. So one of the cool things about this laptop that I'm using, or, not this iPhone actually, but like the newer ones, they are remarkably strong. Now, I could go and, have a whole big discussion about, about ARM, about RISC, and yada, yada, yada. But basically the point is our big fat chunky x86 processors are, they use quite a lot of power. They kick out quite a lot of heat. If you take a look at, say, and look, Apple certainly, Apple cherry picks, whenever you see a graph from Tim Apple, you gotta watch out. But the truth has been, like, on, the M1, M2, whatever, MacBooks, they have had a ridiculous battery life to performance ratio as compared to an equivalent Windows machine. Now, what's been really exciting is that Qualcomm have got, let's just say, a similar class of chips, and those are coming out on Windows devices right now. What's exciting then is the sorts of power that maybe you'll see in a modern iPad, as like, the iPad Pro that's got the M4 chip. Well, you'll actually start to see that kind of power be available on the likes of your ROG Ally or your new Steam Deck. And that should actually unlock a whole new level of power and performance. Because again, whether you're using the Deck or the Ally, I mean, man, you can hear those fans whirring, you can see the battery drain, you're sitting there worrying about the wattage, like the power draw of your chip, and you've got different like power profiles for your chip. A lot of that stuff won't really matter as much whenever we're moving ahead to, something like Apple Silicon, what Qualcomm are doing, and I believe AMD are trying to compete in that space as well. So this isn't exactly a thing for now, but it is to say that, take a look at the ROG Ally and the ROG Ally X. I believe those are still using very, very similar chips. What could be cool is our next version of that could be quite a bit more of a step change in power to performance ratio. That, combined with more ubiquitous support for SteamOS, truly could mean that this kind of renaissance in handheld gaming that we're getting, that it will only get better. You'll be getting more performance, better battery life, similar prices. Like, honestly, the future is kind of bright, and that's why it's really good to hear that Valve are working in this stuff. So that's it for today's video. A whole bunch of updates with Valve and Steam. Let me know what you think, and if you've been playing Deadlock, also let me know what your time has been like. Anyway, that's it for me. You can catch more content from me and the team over at Bellular.games, and with that said, I'll see you next time.